Right, good evening or good afternoon. I'll get this answer. Right, the Open Spaces meeting, thank you very much. Apologies if we have any. I don't think we have. No, good. So, minutes of the previous, do you need to, done, thank you. Minutes of the previous meetings to resolve to agree the notes, has everybody read them?
Yep.
Everyone happy? Can I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Isabel? All agreed? You sure?
Right.
Yeah.
You sure? No, you don't, that's because it's only appendix. And you sign bottom. So, thank you. And bit of paper. Thanks very much.
Right, declarations of interest. Receive any declarations of interest in accordance with the requirements of the Localism Act 2011, and to consider any request for dispensations in respect of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interest in agendaed items. Has anybody got anything? No? Fantastic. Clerk's report, please.
Right, there's been considerable rise in antisocial behaviour in Carter's Park and Park Road Cemetery, which I think everybody is aware of. Broken beer bottles, large quantities of rubbish strewn everywhere, particularly bad on a on a Saturday, Sunday and Monday morning. We're still having problems with memorial masons not putting plot numbers on the back of headstones, etc. I have chased it and I am continuing to monitor it. And reports of someone putting rubbish on the recently removed pile of battlefields. If members want me to send out letters again, I will happily do so. The allotments are now all set up on the new Realtas system, which we've done all the new rents for April, and they're ready to go out. All looks really good, doesn't it? So that's all good. And a lady has come in regarding a request to have a notice board by the cemetery chapels in Park Road Cemetery on the opposite side to where the current board is. Just explaining about the number of unmarked baby graves, etc. that are there. Apparently she did speak to the previous clerk before lockdown, but I'm happy to go back and get more detail if that's what everybody is happy with. And that's me finished.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, cost clerk to discuss and resolve to agree with the updated quotes for the slide. Isabel, do you want to do this one?
Yeah. Obviously, I emailed everything out to you this morning, and Joan has kindly printed off the actual pretty picture bit. Obviously, one of them is, if you have the total works, it's way out of our budget. So I believe that we've got potentially in the budget for the project around about, I think it was just over 15, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But that is to include for the inclusive swing as well. Now the inclusive swing, I've found one with the frame and the seat for about £1,600, and it's a metal frame, so it's a good system that we could have fitted, because our staff could do that. So that would sort of leave you around about 13,000–14,000 for your slide project. So what they've actually quoted currently is, one company is saying that if you removed 2 of the ways up, you would come out at about 15, and the other one is about 15 for their whole setup that they've agreed to do. So we can tweak it a little bit. We could remove any of the ways up and just have the slide put in, which would get us to about the figure that we're talking about. Or you could purchase a way up in the package, but then our staff potentially fit it, depending on what one we look at and what they are prepared to do. So for me, it's really a matter of what do you feel is the best plan that we've got. The one thing that I think is key is whether you want to have any safety surfacing going up alongside the slide, because one of them includes it and one of them doesn't, which would stop any erosion. Because clearly children climb up, as soon as they come down the slide, they try and climb back up, don't they, alongside the slide. And that's why it's eroded as it has done, and now you're starting to see the concrete foundations. So one of them includes that within their scheme and the other one does not. But if there's elements of the other scheme that you prefer, then we can talk to companies and see what we can do, and then work out whether we just go for the slide at this stage and make sure we get that in, and then later on we can purchase different schemes to manage to get up the slope, or we could potentially create those ourselves. So I don't know what your thoughts are. I'm erring on the side of having some safety surfacing alongside the slide myself. I think it would be the more sensible thing to do, because you do get a lot of wear on that side.
Most definitely, I certainly agree with that, because always take the shortest cut.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that one, but after being in the park this weekend and
Yeah.
seeing what's been going down the slide,
Yeah.
it's a shame.
Yeah.
Because that would be lovely, but I mean, I've moved the chunks of wood that
Right.
was at the bottom.
Right.
Such a shame. And I think they'll try and take bites down, something like that.
Yeah, I think they would. It gives too much scope for
Yeah, abuse.
antisocial. I mean, you could just change that for a basic slide. That is not an issue. But then at least with the other one, it's slightly different because it's got a slight curve to it.
But I'm just thinking that medium is a lot more robust than that.
Yeah.
After, like I say, what I've seen being chucked down there recently.
I mean, that again, that is what they've quoted for initially. I can go back and ask about whether there is an alternative to that particular slide.
A narrower one.
Well, whatever whatever you're feeling you want to do, but I need to know now what you're expecting to be able to achieve with that budget that we've potentially got, and what elements you absolutely want and what elements are negotiable.
Right, so my thoughts are a narrower slide,
Yeah,
the matting at the side,
yeah,
and one way
right,
is what I would personally prefer to see.
yeah.
Which one is it? Is it on there? The post with the pulley rope
Okay,
is what I think would be easiest for us to maintain,
right.
and everything else. Anybody else got any input, please?
I think out the alternative too, that the scramble net is a better one than the timber ramp, especially in the if there's any ice on it or anything like that. If they are going in early in the morning, that sort of thing. I think the timber ramp may be a little bit more slippery, but I don't think you need 3 different ways up to one slide.
These were just the options
Yeah.
given to us.
Yeah, so
I mean, the cargo net I looked at before was slightly different to this one, because this one's on a framework.
Mm-hmm.
the one I looked at was basically cargo netting pegged in.
Yeah, pegged in, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a possibility. I mean, again, you don't necessarily have to purchase
No.
all of this at the same time.
But we need to narrow it down.
We need to narrow it down, and work out what is going to happen with it and what's not. I mean, I'm presuming if you're looking at doing safety servicing going up alongside the slide, then obviously one of them is quoted for that and one hasn't. The company that's quoted for that, the slide, you're not happy with the material of it? Is that what?
I'm just thinking the aluminium's a lot more robust. I know these are fairly robust, they
Yeah.
have to be.
Yeah.
But like I say, with them chunks of wood going down, I saw this weekend, and it's not the first time, that's going to do some damage.
Okay.
So, anybody else, any input? Any thoughts?
Could I just point something out? When we installed, or when you guys installed Galahad, these, if it's metal, it can't face south or
Yes.
south. It's got to face north. I don't know what the.
Yeah, facing, it does face
Yeah.
north.
Yeah, because it gets hot,
Mm.
and B, it can start to warp,
Yeah.
which it has warped slightly,
Mm.
even,
Facing north.
Yeah. but that is, that's many years of usage.
Right, so let's narrow it down. So, aluminium or the heavy duty resin plastic stuff? Anybody got any preferences? No? So,
So it's whatever we can afford,
Yeah.
basically, yeah? Do we want the surfacing going up alongside the slide?
I think they'll be preferred because of ease. And it should help.
Yeah.
Stop erosion at the side.
And then, if we can afford a way up, which is your preferred option? If we can't, we'll buy that later.
Yeah. I mean, I like the scramble net. I'm just for keeping it maintained is my concern.
Yeah.
I like the scramble net, as long as we can have something underneath it to obviously keep it grass and bits and pieces at bay.
Mm-hmm.
But I prefer it when it's pegged in the ground and not on a framework.
Okay.
It's my personal choice. Steve?
Cargo nets. My personal view is they're can be a bit of a hazard, especially with little ones getting legs and falling backwards and hanging off them and things like that. I think the pulley rope myself,
Yeah.
just although I understand Mark's point, it's simpler and there's nothing there to get hooked into, as in foot, shoe, arm, leg, dangling. I don't understand. Are we actually reducing the height?
It will potentially need, I think one of them is reducing height slightly because they are using a slide that would need it to be reduced.
Yeah.
But I think
It's
This
quite
option
a drop, isn't it?
is more akin to what
We
we've
have.
already got.
But that's just my view that
Um,
it's too much.
I mean, I think, was it this one, Mark, that you were concerned about?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could still do something like that,
I just think, just go
because
for
they,
the easiest option.
because that is something that we could actually do ourselves.
Yeah,
You wouldn't necessarily need to have the safety surfacing, which they're put underneath it. You could do it just with the grass initially. If that became too eroded, then you could look at putting some safety surfacing at a later date. But that would be a relatively cheap and simple thing to actually put in
It'll help.
yourself, wouldn't it?
I think at the moment it's grass anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is grass,
So
it's all
it's-
grass.
So it's,
I think if
An
the
easy
actual
option.
slide area is safe,
yeah.
which is the most, that's the biggest priority, then we can tweak and add what we feel is best
Okay.
as we move on.
Have you enough information to go back?
Yes.
and do some bits and pieces?
Yes.
So,
So-
the actual,
It's to discuss and resolve to agree the updated
right,
site.
Right,
but we're tinkering with it a
so,
little
well,
bit.
we are tinkering with it to a degree, but we basically know what we're aiming for. So if if and when I get the quote as within our budget, if it has the elements that we've just discussed, are we happy that we go ahead and order, or do you want it to come back just to double check?
I think it'd be best if we come back and just double check to make sure everybody's happy with
Yeah, okay,
what's put on the table.
right,
So, I mean, we are agreeing the updated quotes from the slide.
Yeah.
Because we're agreeing with certain elements of it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you go about that one.
The actual agenda item
Is
is
to-
to agree, so you'd have to do an amendment if you want to bring it back, if you want to defer the agreement.
Yeah, because we're only taking elements and bits and pieces of this. So, we couldn't have agreed this as a whole anyway, could we?
no, because you could potentially have agreed that one, because it's just about on your budget. That one, again, is just about on your budget if you take out that element and that element. But you would still retain that element, and you wouldn't have any safety surfacing on the sides.
Can I make a
So-
suggestion? If we get the updated quotes and the figures fit, can we not just agree the item? Because we're going to have it done, the project's there. The sooner we get on with it and deliver the result, the better for our public. It's no good bringing it back here to delay another month where we could agree it now on the basis that it fits the budget,
Yeah.
and if it doesn't, it can come back to the table.
I mean, what I'll do is that as soon as I get it back, I will ping it around to all of you anyhow, and then if there's anything that you want me to go back to them with, then I will do that. And then obviously what I need to know from them is delivery times and when
Yeah.
we're likely to be able to do it, because ideally if we get it installed before the summer holidays,
Be superb.
then that's what we're aiming to do.
Yeah.
So then from the point of view of the inclusive swing, that again is within that whole budget, that's what has been calculated that we could afford to do. So
Is that what's surfacing for it as well?
no, that is just for the swing. We have got the ballast and the cement that we can fit it ourselves, so we've got that element. And I do believe we have got some safety matting left, but how much we've got, I don't know.
Because obviously that's now going to be in a different site to what we looked at then. If
No,
you
it's
decide
still
that.
within that sort of same area where when we went down and
Yeah.
had a look, we were going to put it as close to the pathway as we could, weren't
Yeah.
we? Because obviously then it makes it easier for anybody
Access, yeah.
accessing it. But again, we just have to look at where it's logical to put it
Yeah.
with tree roots, etc. But we can, the basis of where it would go is still that same sort of area.
Thank you. No,
So,
that's good. So
So,
we're agreeing.
so can I read out,
Yeah.
sorry, it was resolved to agree the quotes for which material of slide is cheaper, matting by the side, and a pulley way up if funds available. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Funds available, and inclusive swing. Yep.
Yeah.
So can I have a proposer, seconder for the amendment? Thanks, Stephen.
Isabel.
Thank you. Everybody agreed? And then can I actually have, that's for the amendment, and can I have the same again for the actual agenda item? Yes, thank you. Thank you. All agreed? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Isabel.
that's all right.
So, Netherfields, obviously quite sad to hear that some of the trees have been took up, but now they're starting to replant them, so let's hope for the best. Cemeteries. Mark, would you like to lead on this one, because this is one of your ideas?
It was just really to decide which way of signage to go. Obviously, the quote was for black, but I know you know, Stephen said about different colours to be in keeping with the wall. So really, it's just a matter of deciding which colour people would prefer. Because I think the decision to go with signage was pretty much agreed in principle. It's just the colour that, you know. So if anyone's got any views on it.
I mean, obviously, it's a brick to the floor. So we're going to need something that does fairly stand out, unless we have the writing within it very dark, is the other option. So it doesn't look too in your face. People's preferences, basically. Anybody got any? Yeah.
I'll kick on. I think the stonemason that has sent through the bits that they've got a really good idea, because we don't want it just look like a sign stuck on a wall. And I think that they are brilliant at what they do. So I think whatever we agree, you know, as long as it was in keeping with what you would expect to find on a modern wall, but in keeping of its situ, I think we should go ahead and, irrespective of what colour, you know, I see there's a black one, stone or whatever. I think whatever they do is going to look, when you look at in the cemetery, you look at all the various headstones, some are black, some are grey, some are gold, some are black. Anything's going to be in keeping as long as it's real, sort of tasteful. So just thank you for your work on that, because I said they seem to be a great memorial company.
I know which I like that it's gone in preferences.
I haven't really got any preference. I'm quite happy as long as it, you know, the end product looks good and it looks like it belongs there rather than just being stuck on. I really haven't got a problem.
I mean, I prefer the pale on the brick with the dark lettering. It's clear but not in your face. So, did you have any preferences, Mark?
No, like I say, it's just a matter of the quote that came through, I believe was for like black with gold lettering, but that's absolutely fine. Is it possible, Joan, can you go back to the stonemason and just sort of like say this is what we in keeping with, maybe a lighter colour.
Bear in mind, I mean, the plaques are like a brassy colour, so I think black against it would be a bit harsh.
Lighter colour granite, you want granite still?
Yes, please.
That's dark lettering. We need to make sure he realises it's not called Whole Beach Cemetery as well, which is put on the example. Okay, we'll do that.
So that's discussed. Thank you. To allotments, to receive an update on the waiting list.
Did everybody
It's lovely, yeah. Well done.
it's not really well done, it's software, so...
It's still well done.
So the second person on the list has been offered an allotment. The first person on the list is a non-parishioner and it lives quite a distance. I don't know what, it's always been practice to offer parishioners first, hasn't it?
Well, this was discussed before, wasn't it? I don't think we really came up with a decision.
Because at this particular site we've got a lot of people waiting that live.
But that person who isn't parishioner might be someone who comes here every day to be your family members. Sorry, Isabel.
I personally think they should be offered to parishioners first, unless there are particular circumstances around somebody that lives outside of the area, and you know, anybody that applies, I think a few questions need to be asked if they why they apply for one in Holwich, if they live a good distance away. But I would prefer that parishioners get the option first.
So we go back to the person who is at the top of the list and say, why would you like one within Aldwych before we offering loads of bits and pieces out there. So agreed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right, to discuss and resolve a way forward with rubbish left at the allotments. This is after a tenant leaves. We've had an incident where the tenant has left and stuff's been left behind. But I think we discussed last time that whoever takes on a plot takes it as seen. So we've got to discuss and resolve. I thought that was what we had decided.
This has been left in the shed.
Yeah. Well, it was on the plot. It was,
Mm-hmm.
the plot was taken on.
That's fine.
I'm sorry, you know, this is what we agreed last time, you take it on. But we to agree a way forward with this, due to the...
Yeah, I agree. I mean, ultimately, it's up to individuals. If they go down and visit the plot, they should take notice of what's on the plot when they visit. You know, if there's stuff there that they don't want anymore, then it is up to the previous tenant to remove it, and ultimately we're not responsible either way.
So when someone leaves the plot, do we go down there and check that?
I think we should be inspecting. We should be inspecting before they relinquish it fully, and if there's any stuff left, we give them the opportunity to remove it as they're charged to remove it.
These are where people have just vanished.
Yeah, well, that's the problem.
That's the problem.
So if you had a flat and someone vanishes, the landlord would have to clear it out before you re-rent it, wouldn't it?
You're quite right. Yeah.
So therefore we should start when we know someone's going. Well, it's different when they disappear though, not.
I think if normal circumstances would be that if somebody has viewed the plot and they've accepted the plot,
And this was the case?
I'm presuming so, but if they have, if they've been down and they've viewed the plot and accepted the plot, then it is their responsibility to make sure they're happy with everything before they accept it.
Yeah, but on viewing they did, didn't they, Karen? And then they came in afterwards.
Yeah, they came in afterwards and asked the
they've had a
question.
look.
She's had a look in there because you couldn't actually look inside. There it's all shut up, wasn't it?
Mm. So it was afterwards.
When she viewed it then, was it all locked up?
It's not locked, but it wasn't.
Nobody made any attempt. Well, she didn't make any attempt to go in. She didn't look through the windows or nothing, did she?
Well, then that's down to her.
I'm sorry.
Ultimately, you know, she was taken to be shown the area, the plot that she was going to be having. She could see there was a shed on the site. You would make some sort of inquiries at that point, I would have thought, saying, oh, is the shed already empty? To which you would have
Or is the
said,
shed
we can't be
right?
sure. And, you know, you can't keep doing things for people when ultimately the land or the plots themselves are not generating us a huge amount of income. We can't afford to do it. If people are taking them on, they take them on as seen.
Especially since she had viewed it.
If they haven't viewed it, that's a slightly different thing. If they've agreed to something and they haven't been down to see
That's
it.
something we need to ask when we give someone a plot. If you viewed it, you sign for it.
We can alter, with this new software, we can alter it so that we can put it in the lease agreement. That once viewed, anything that's on there is the responsibility of the tenant.
I think we're going to have to.
But sadly, at this moment in time, we agreed this last time. Sorry, Mark.
It's similar note, but on a bit of a sidebar to it. Have the allotments been measured yet? I know it was on the schedule.
It's still on the schedule.
Okay. It was just in relation to, obviously, if we're letting them out and we've agreed new rents for that, then
No, we haven't agreed any rents. We can't. The rents can't be rents have to be served by the end of this August to go up in September
Okay,
2023.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Well, misunderstood.
No?
Can I just make a comment on that point? I suppose it's the same when you look at it, if someone looked at a plot or took a plot on and it had a shed on it and they didn't want a shed, they can't ask us to remove it. It's the same with the contents in there really. If someone's, I would expect someone to view something without viewing it and taking it on, so if they've looked at it, and some of these sheds probably are a little bit crooked and a little bit, are they going to expect to come here and say, can you take my shed down, I don't want it anymore? Oh, we can't do that, unfortunately.
Alright, so sadly, she signed. That's it.
So, just discuss and agree the way forward to her. So and we will add it into the agreement that's taken a scene.
Yes, please.
Propose it, please. That's
This one's
Second
second.
that.
Yeah. He's going to have one. Do we all agree? Thank you. Okay. Excuse me. Alright, moving to the report from the Nature Reserve. Harwich Bank, nothing to report from there. Have we heard back from the Crown at all?
From the
Crown?
No.
Okay, thank you. Alright, to resolve to agree the next month's work schedule. So,
From last month, the fence repair has been done. The fence around the picnic area has been done as far as they can go because of the time of year.
the
Defra.
Because of the trees
yeah,
and
no,
stuff.
but the bit where there isn't anything growing on it is still there.
No, they
Yeah,
said
there
they've
is. It
done
was in there at the weekend.
It's got.
Where the
trees.
gate is, you've got
Oh,
the bit,
yeah,
that bit
yes,
there.
yes, yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
between
The
the,
dead end.
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there is more.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
by
there's
the
a bit
tennis
more,
courts,
yeah.
between the tennis courts and the bowls club.
yeah.
That bit, yeah,
Around
that's
the
right.
picnic area.
Well, ideally, I'd like to get that bar thing
Trees at Netherfield. The slide at Carter's Park, that's just an ongoing thing
Yeah,
they've
it's
got
just
to
keep-
monitor. Play equipment general, they've been looking into that. For full council, because I've just come, it was too late for this agenda, the seats at Whole Beach Bank, so we've got to get some replacement seats, I'll look into the prices for those. Car park here, it just needs finishing off. And then shipping risk assessments and paperwork is all on the red list, they're starting to grass cut as well. Allgate, weed in paviours, memorial garden needs tied in, and then weed fortnightly. Reduce rose bed, that's got to be done.
That needs to be done soon to get grass seeded down.
So should we move that now?
Put that into red.
But I've got some up for the red as well, after being in the park at the weekend.
Alright, hang on 1 second. Nature reserve is general tidy up, bird boxes. And then on the green list is measure all allotment sites, grass
Yeah.
cutting, which has got to be moved across now.
That needs to go on to red because
Red
that's
now. The cedar in Park Road,
That's
that's
still
on the
that's-
green, but
I would put it under. Because they were going to try and do that when the weather wasn't good enough to do other things, they were going to start on that one. They know what they're going to do with it now, so.
and that's basically it. Has anybody got anything else?
Yeah, the little witch's hat in the park, what I call the witch's hat,
Mm.
there's 2 massive holes near it. I don't know what's been used to dig in there.
Right, okay.
You know the embankment around,
Yeah.
obviously that needs topping up
Yes,
as well at
which
the
is,
minute.
that they
And
already
you've got a
know
little
that.
gully coming off it,
Oh, right.
they dug it off a gully.
Okay.
right? And then a few paces over there, there is a hole about that deep and about that wide. So that is one hell of a trip hazard.
Yeah, because what we talked about at the last work scheduling on the routine of looking at all of the play equipment was the sand area underneath those pieces needed topping up. That was flagged up in the report, and also getting some of the grass out of the area. So the idea was to take all the sand, or as much of the sand, out of the sand pit as was needed, top up, so that then the sand pit can be locked shut and not used. But
What's underneath the sand pit?
there's some concrete in there, so we need to.
Would that be a place to site save a swing?
It would be more tricky because you'd have to
Okay.
physically get into that
Um,
area, wouldn't you? Because
Take the fencing down.
you couldn't.
Couldn't.
Well, because the whole idea was to do that area as a area where little ones can run around safely and not run out, because it's close to the car park, etc. So the fencing would need to stay around there. But as well, it's right under a tree, so it wouldn't be a good place for a swing, ideally. But we can look at a good place.
And the actual surface now underneath our swing set
Yeah, then
is horrendous.
yeah, that there is no point doing anything to that other than pulling up the debris, because those swings will eventually, in the very near future, have to come out, because they are on the point of no return. So there's very little point spending any money on new safety surfacing underneath them, because once they come out, you're going to redo that whole area with whatever you're going to do. So there's no point.
Extremely uneven though.
Yeah.
That was my notes from the park.
So I've just put under swings ground.
Yeah, the big swings, the large swings.
Yeah.
So anything that they can do to level it out, I would put that into an amber.
I want them, the holes near the, which is half as quite massive.
Whilst we're on this, you're still wanting them not to spray in Park Road, aren't you?
Park Road Cemetery?
Yeah, there's no need.
No,
Looks perfectly okay, isn't it?
No,
don't need spraying.
That's, yeah, fine.
All the roses in the park need pruning and generally tidying up those beds. And that could be amberish, really. And then the other one that needs doing is looking at all the planters in the churchyard before we plant them up, and any that need removing, or if we need to move them slightly or whatever, just get them moved so they're in position ready for planting.
Which one's that?
Barrels.
All the
Yeah.
barrels,
Red
I would
and
put it in red, because if we're going to plant around that Easter weekend potentially before start, we'd need to have them in position.
There's a few of those that are in the passageway where the bandings have come off the barrels,
Yeah.
but we could potentially pull the ones from the
Other bit,
other
and move
bit
them, yeah.
over to replace those ones that are
Yeah,
falling
that's
to
right.
pieces.
If we can go up there, as many of us as possible, if we go up and meet them there and say, right, well, this one, this one, this one, we can take that out, move those around and just get it laid out the way. And as well for their ease when they're in their mowing, so that they've not got little areas where they've got to
Can't get in.
get in and out.
Anybody else got anything for the work schedules?
Do you want to read it back?
No, we know what's on there.
Okay. That's easy.
Okay. So, nothing else for the work schedule? All good?
Yes, actually, it is not imminent yet, but we will need to map out the beds for the Jubilee Garden, and they'll need to start to be dug at some point, so probably green at this stage.
Have you got a plan for this yet?
We're starting to work on it, but we can bring that back to either the next meeting ideally, if we've got a bit of an idea of how it's going to come together.
Fantastic.
But ideally, it's easier if we can actually spray on the ground and then see it in situ rather than looking at a little plan.
Fantastic, thank you.
Can I have a proposal, please?
Proposal? Isabel, second, Stephen,
All agreed?
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any items for discussion for the agenda next time, please? If not, you know the drill, send it in. Okay, to confirm date and venue of next open spaces meeting, please. Well, venue be bless you.
Time would be good as well.
Right, so 4 weeks today is the 25th of April.
That's okay.
I think we moved it to about 4:15, didn't we, Mark? So you had time to get here.
So everybody happy with the 25th of April? I'm off work, so that's good.
Oh no, my pen's run out.
Everybody happy, yeah? Good, so we say 4:30 then?
4:30, yeah.
Yeah? Is that all right with you, if we're staying on for bits and pieces, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, meeting finished, thank you very much all.